My husband said he would leave me in a heartbeat if his deceased wife walked through the door, and I had to do damage control while feeling like crap because we were with our friends. My 34F husband, 37 meters, was married once before me. She was his high school sweetheart. They started dating in their junior year, survived long distance during college, and got married when they were both 23, very shortly after graduating. She passed away unexpectedly at age 26 from an aneurysm, which obviously devastated him, especially because they were so young. They never had children. He contemplated never remarrying because he was so heartbroken, but we ended up meeting about 4 years after that. We got married when I was 31 and he was 34, and we now have 2 children. Last night, we were at a friend's potluck gathering. Everything was going well until one of our friends brought up a new topic related to relationships. She is newly divorced, so the conversation was about her divorce. Others chimed in with stories about past relationships from high school, college, etc. I mentioned that I never thought I would get married because my luck with men had always been terrible until I met my husband, and I said I felt very lucky to have met him. After a little while, my husband brought up his deceased wife. Everyone knows he was married before me and that she passed away. He was talking about her and then dropped a bomb saying, if she walked through that front door right now, I'd pick up where we left off. If I'm being honest, it felt like someone put my heart into a blender and punched me in the gut as hard as they could. Everyone in the room could sense the awkwardness that followed. To avoid making a scene, I just laughed it off, even though I think it was still obvious that it hurt me. I just felt that if he still feels that way, then why are we married? I've never asked him to get over his wife. I have never experienced the loss of a spouse or even a partner, so I'm unsure how that feels, but I would never say something like that in front of my new spouse. After the gathering, we left and I did not speak to him the entire car ride home or much the entire night. I did tell him that what he said hurt my feelings deeply and that we could talk in the morning once I had calmed down because I didn't want to say something mean to him. I ended up sleeping on the couch because he wouldn't leave me alone. It's now the next morning and I barely slept. He is still sleeping. I'm not really sure what to say or what he will say. Relevant comments. Commenter. It's one thing to acknowledge a deceased partner and know that if they were alive, you wouldn't be together because you wouldn't have met in that capacity. But he was disrespectful and hurtful on another level. Did he just lob this bomb for no reason? Like, was it a past assault? And by the way, I would drop off for my dead wife in a second. I'd be feeling like crap and angry, truly wondering what role I play in this relationship outside of being a bedwarmer. Not the jerk at all. Ops response. He started off by saying that he had never been in a serious relationship until his first wife. He had little relationships in middle school and early high school, but she was the first one he ever felt serious about. Then he said what he said. Everything was fine until he said it. I'm also not opposed to him speaking about her. We've talked about her before. Commenter 2. He probably could have worded it better, but the only reason you're where you are is because she isn't. It's not that he doesn't love you more than anyone on earth, but she has an idea that still seems ideal in his mind. You may also not fully understand the depth of their bond given how long it lasted. I don't blame you for being a little taken aback, but he's there for you, loves you, and is committed. Isn't that enough? Ops response. Yes, I've acknowledged that the only reason I am together is because she is gone. That is obvious, and anyone with a brain would piece that together quickly. It's just that what he said was mean. He could have kept that to himself. I would never say something like that to him or in front of him, even if I felt it. Commenter 3. Okay, what else did he say? Because I absolutely 100% believe that he said this hurtful thing, and it is stuck in your mind bothering you. You are not the jerk for feeling normal human emotions. Just as I absolutely 100% believe that this is not the entire story. You laughed it off. He tried to talk to you about it, but you wouldn't listen. I mean, yeah, from what we know here, you're the jerk. You pretended you were fine with the comment, then you flipped and said you weren't. Then you refused to accept any kind of open communication about the issue. That sounds kinda like a jerk move to me, and the absolute lack of details doesn't help your case. The fact that you are willing to talk about this with internet strangers, but not your partner is also not a good look. Are you the jerk for feeling hurt? Not at all. Are you the jerk for crapping all over your husband's mistake? Yes, you're the jerk. I hope you approach the morning discussion with a calm head and an open heart. I hope you process your feelings. I hope your husband apologizes for hurting you. Ops response. I did not say anything after it happened because I was shocked, hurt, confused, and embarrassed. It came out of left field. I also don't think anyone was convinced I was fine with it because my laugh came out very awkward and dry, and everyone kept looking at us. I was also quiet for the rest of the night. I'm a huge chatterbox. I did not speak with him once we returned home because I was not sure how to communicate what I was feeling without saying something I didn't mean. So I kept my mouth shut until I could process my feelings. It's also easier to speak with internet strangers because I'm not married to the people commenting. I'm just venting here. What I say here doesn't matter in my marriage. I provided fewer details because I didn't want this to be too long. Some people prefer when you get straight to the point and only include important details. However, since I'm new to this app, I wasn't sure how much detail was enough, if that makes sense. And lastly, I am not the jerk for being upset, but I am the jerk for being upset. That's basically what you've implied. If you read some of my other replies, not saying that you need to because there's so much to read here now, I've explained to people that I was patient and understanding of my husband's grief for years. I doubt he would have found a woman so soon after his wife's passing who would have sat around and listened to him bring her up as often as he has. Not everyone is compassionate. Update 11 hours later. I also tried to reply to as many comments as I could, but they were flooding in, and I got a bit overwhelmed. I may still try to read and reply to them. Many brought me to joyous and grateful tears. Also, booze was not involved in the sense that he wasn't drunk. My husband is 6 feet 3 inches and almost 250 pounds. He had eaten quite a bit and had one beer. He was practically sober. Anyway, we talked. I asked him to let me go first and not to interrupt. He doesn't usually interrupt anyway. This isn't verbatim, just a rough sketch of how things went. I also included points some of you made without mentioning that I posted about this, of course. I just want to say that I do not hate you for what you said. I understand where you were coming from. She died, and it was something neither of you saw coming. I could never ask you to get over her or to forget her because I know how much you loved her. She was your first love. I do understand that if she hadn't passed, we likely would not be together and you two likely would be. I have always understood this, but to say what you said hurt my feelings and embarrassed me. Even though her coming back from the dead is impossible, if it were, you would leave me and the children? It was probably one of the worst things anyone has ever said to me. It is clear your feelings about her are still raw and it still hurts. I want you to get counseling, and I want couples counseling very, very soon. He then apologized profusely, teared up, and said how he did not mean to hurt me or embarrass me in front of our friends. He basically said that he thought about it before he went to sleep and realized that he should have kept it to himself. I mean, I can't be angry at him for what he thinks. He loved her and she died. His feelings are also valid here. He also said that he would never leave me and the children and that what he said was just a poorly thought out and poorly worded statement. He wasn't thinking clearly, and when he said it, he immediately felt that maybe it came out wrong. I asked him how he would feel if I said that to him. He said, "Yeah, it's bad. I know. I shouldn't have said it. I wouldn't be happy. I know you aren't happy. I should have apologized in front of everyone as soon as I said it or not have said it at all." I then asked him to think of the children and said, "It's like you saying, hey, children's names. If my dead wife walked through the door, I'd pack my bags and never speak to you guys again." And then it really got uncomfortable. After some silence, I had no idea what to say after that. He asked me if I wanted a divorce. I asked him why he thought I would want a divorce, just to see what he would say. He said he didn't know. I didn't answer his question and instead said that we needed to look into counseling, that he needed to get counseling for himself, and that we would go to couples counseling. I told him that if the answer was no, I wasn't interested in moving forward. This isn't 100% about the comment anymore. I need to know if he is willing to make the necessary changes and put in the work to fix what he messed up. Because if he were to dismiss my feelings or refuse counseling, it would mean he doesn't think this is that serious and that he may not take me seriously. I also said this to him. Some of the comments also suggested that I take the kids elsewhere. I agreed with this because it would be difficult to get through this while also parenting. I have a very young daughter and a toddler son. They are currently with my parents for the weekend, and I'll be getting them Sunday night. So this gives us time to really work on things. He suggested that he sleep on the couch instead of me. I have nowhere else to go. I haven't told my parents because I really want to keep this between me and him as much as possible. Family and friends tend to jump to judgment too quickly and sometimes offer extreme and harmful advice. It's also embarrassing. Luckily, we both have very good insurance that will help with counseling. I told him that it seems like whatever counseling he got after her death wasn't enough, and that he wasn't consistent with it like he should have been. With trauma like that, I personally would have been in counseling for years before even considering remarriage. He agreed. He was only in it for about a year and then stopped once he moved away from his hometown. He never got back into it. He also agreed to individual and couples counseling. He kept apologizing and telling me he loved me all day. It was also so difficult to be around him because he kept looking at me. I couldn't think. It was like he would try to say something and then just stare without saying anything. With the kids gone, there's nothing to really do except talk, so we talked again right before dinner time. He asked me if I wanted him to cook or buy something. To be honest, I still wasn't hungry, so I just told him he could pick something up for himself and that I wasn't hungry. That prompted the second discussion. I realized he must feel very bad because he noticed I hadn't really eaten much all day. He kept asking me to eat. I wasn't sulking too much or anything, just doing my usual tasks but not speaking or eating as much. Because we're home together all day, he noticed this. He asked me one more time to please eat dinner with him, so I agreed. During dinner, he told me that he had looked for counselors himself and wanted me to see if I thought they were okay, and that he would keep looking. Last stretch, sorry. After all of that, I told him that we can't really predict anything until we've met with therapists. I don't want him to keep saying, sorry, I want work and change, and then maybe we can move forward. But this is the first step. I don't want to just leave him. I'm also not saying divorce is off the table. I think he is still hurting from her death, and his judgment is very, very clouded. If he didn't love me, I doubt he would have apologized so many times and looked for counselors on his own. A man who doesn't love me probably would have made me look or rejected going altogether. Many people were suggesting otherwise, but I do not think he doesn't love me. I thought about this myself, cried about it, thought of my children, and cried more. I'm not staying for the kids. I'm staying because I want to at least try to fix things. If it cannot be fixed, then at least I tried. We were also very close. Some people were asking how close we were prior to marriage. Maybe as a way to gauge the difference between the relationship and ours. Maybe to see if he settled. He was always very romantic, caring, and sweet to me. We've never yelled at each other. When we first started dating, he would plan dates, surprise me, and brag about me to his friends. That's why I'm very confused about why he would blurt that out unless it was just very poor brain-to-mouth coordination. I also told him that I might get a counselor for myself. I don't think I need one. Someone suggested it, but I think he needs it more than I do. And because insurance companies are getting worse by the year, 3 counseling bills might be pushing it. I don't know. If I do get one, it's because I don't want to potentially resent him or doubt myself. Some people have been trying to make me doubt myself. Some of the comments were very nasty to me. I appreciate Reddit hiding comments with many downvotes as they may be mean, but I couldn't help but click. Some of you are very mean and very nasty individuals, and I hope you find happiness one day. There could be another update in the future. I'm not opposed to making one. Thank you all for your kind words and support. I've also responded to everyone who texted me, everyone at the potluck who has my number. 3 people. There were 9 people there, not including us. They've all basically said the same thing. They can't believe he said that. They feel bad for me. They asked if everything is okay, and they said what he said was not okay, etc. He showed me some of the texts between him and his friends, and some made me cry with how kind they were towards me, basically telling him that he wasn't necessarily wrong for thinking that, but he was wrong for saying it. I told him I loved him as well, and I have never not loved him even for a second. I said that I wasn't angry with him and didn't want him to, I guess, suffer for what he said, but I was just hurt and needed him to know that it did hurt me, and for him to respond how he saw fit, and we'd go from there. That's all for now. I could possibly answer more questions here if you have any. I try to answer some of the more frequently asked ones that I saw. Again, sorry for this being so lengthy. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and thank you again. Relevant comments. Commenter, my 2 cents, constantly telling you how sorry he is does not prove that he loves you. It proves that he realizes he messed up big time and is afraid of losing what he has. He might consider your marriage a comfortable space and your family life a convenience. I'm not saying this has to be the case. Maybe he really loves you, but what I am saying is this: just being sorry is not proof of love. It's proof that he is afraid of losing something. Counseling is the way to go. Good luck. Ops response, this is what I've been thinking. Actions speak louder than words. Some people are upset that I want him to put in the work for whatever reason. I doubt many of these people are married. Divorce is not like breaking up. It's a huge deal. We have built a life together. Him showing me that he loves me would mean going to therapy to help himself because that would make him better in our marriage. It's clear he hasn't healed enough to be present for me, and that is unfair. His own recent words, commenter too. I guess I'm the only one who thinks she is taking this way too far. He apologized and admitted that it was a half-formed thought that didn't come out right. He didn't seem to make excuses, just explained why he said it. Now she is thinking about divorce and making all kinds of demands when the most he did was make an insensitive comment and start looking for counselors. You people need to stop telling her that she handled this perfectly because she didn't. She is pouting at home when she should have just accepted his apology and moved on. Being jealous of the dead wife is dumb. Ops response, no, you're not the only one, but that's okay. No one in their right mind is jealous of someone buried in the ground. If I were jealous of her, I would have asked him to never speak of her with me. Whenever he spoke of her, I never shut it down. That would have been cruel. I was a safe space for him to speak, and the only demand I made was for him to go to counseling.